Hey there folks, and welcome back for another video. I'm Chris from iLather.com, that is, and we are going to do a shaving video today with Catie's Bubbles La Piment de la Vie, LPV as it's known otherwise. Really nice scent. Even on the front here it's described as a sweet blend with the right touch of spice, and that's pretty much on point. For me, I get mostly a spicy scent, but it's rounded out. It's not a harsh spice. Kind of smells like the old British Sterling cologne or aftershave a little bit if you're familiar with that. So let's go ahead and get the brush loaded up, wet the face, get going. Stay tuned. All right, and here we go with our LPV, and I really got a lot of water on the brush there, but no worries. We will work that right out. Really nice scent. It's not strong or overpowering. It's a unique scent. Really nothing that I'm aware of out there that smells like it. Good quality, great quality. In fact, this is Catie's Bubbles, which is one of the soaps that's at the upper echelon of quality, service, you know, all the rest. Chris does a great job with his wares. And a wonderful fellow to boot, which is nice. So I enjoy these soaps. Super easy to lather. That's always been sort of the calling card of Catie's Bubbles. It is really easy stuff to lather. So you know you're going to have a soap that lathers pretty easily. Now the one thing, especially on these old type soaps that are a little softer, I don't recommend that you bloom or soak the soap in the container with these, because if you get too much water in them, they will get mushy, and in fact Chris does not recommend it. So wet your brush a little, and if you want to load your brush that way, it's fine, but don't put a lot of water in these soaps. It will ruin them. So be careful with that. There have been folks who, you know, weren't happy with the texture of the soap, but they bloomed them and then it became mush. So that's one thing you have to be careful with. And I no longer put any kind of water in soaps at all, or brush or anything. I just scoop a little out, put it in my bowl, load from the bowl, and you're completely safe. Then you can put the cap back on your soap. Minimal impact, hasn't been exposed to air, contaminants. That's just a win for me. You know, it will most likely preserve the longevity of your soap. Today we're going to use the charcoal razor, which you see here, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday because David Gonzalez, you know, he made a post in Razor and Brush saying, you know, he just didn't think it was special. And of course I do, and you know what? We're both right. That's just the thing. All this stuff is subjective. I mean, there are a few facts, like, you know, some things cost more than others. I mean, that's pretty much a fact. You can see it. But when it comes to how you appreciate a razor or how it works, it's all dependent on your style, your technique, your use case, the soap you use. There's so many variables in it that there's nothing across the board. There's nothing I can tell you about across the board that's guaranteed to be beloved by all. Just not the way it works. So when you see people who you know, don't like something that you like a lot, and that's whether it's an artisan, vendor, piece of gear. It's not a personal attack. David was not attacking charcoal razors. He was just giving his view, and his view is basically, hey, it's a beautiful razor, it's a nice razor, but I don't think it's premium, it's not special. I disagree. But since this is all subjective, both of us are right, and that dissent is important, as I was saying yesterday. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, we get to the point where, you know, it's hard to express opinion where, hey, I'm sort of, I didn't really care too much for this. It's okay to do so. The moment that we all like everything, there's no point in even doing these videos, because we're all just sheeple in lockstep with one another. All right, that was an excellent first pass. Stay tuned. We'll come back for pass two. Soap was fantastic on pass one, which is no surprise. It's been a while since I've used LPV. Scent strength, I'd call it right at the mid-level. It's not super stout, but it's very, very nice. Let's get some of that lather down off there a little bit. Really, really nice stuff. Works beautifully, doesn't dry my skin out, provides all the slickness, cushion, glide that you'd want and need. Definitely top rung soap. This is vegan. He generally does not do tallow. He might have done a couple of special editions that are tallow, but in terms of vegan soap, for me, this is as good as it gets. Now there's lots of other artisans who make vegan soaps as well that are quite good. This one is my personal favorite, and again, doesn't mean it will be for you. You know, it's all subjective, but this is a really great soap. But you know, please do be mindful of those things I reminded you of. Don't put a bunch of water in your soap container. Soaking, blooming, not a good idea with Catie's bubbles. Not a good idea at all. Really, and you know me, I don't really recommend it with any soap, but you know, it's your soap. Ultimately, you can do what you want with it. But I am here to try to help, and so that's what I shall do. Back on the charcoal, it works really nicely for me. I call it about medium. The three razors that I've been most impressed by in the last number of years has been this baby, the charcoal, timeless, and the one blade. All three excellent in their own way, in different ways. The artsy one is the charcoal. The hammer that really brings it is the timeless. And the one blade, of course, has that pivot that brings that to the table. They're all a little bit different. They're all premium razors. I think what some people may not necessarily like is, you know, this is made of brass. He does make some of copper as well. This is not heavy as your typical stainless razor, which folks are accustomed to when they buy premium. So maybe that's, you know, part of the but it's still got good weight to it. It's not as light as, say, an Edwin Jagger or a pot metal razor. And it works beautifully for me, so I'm still a big fan. But I very much respect the opinions of those folks who don't care for it. Like I said, they're right too, because essentially when we're talking about these razors and how they work for us, we're all right. You know, if you have something and it just performs terribly and you're using proper technique, then you're right. You don't like it. Didn't work for you. On the other hand, it works brilliantly for me, so I'm really, really happy with it. And I'm right too. So two things can be right at once. It happens, folks. All right, let's rinse the face and come back for pass 3. All right, and here we go with our final pass of Catie's, which has not been a letdown at all. I really enjoy this soap. And this was one of the, I think, first big scents for Catie's Bubbles that people enjoyed it. And now, admittedly, it is not for everyone. It's unique, it's different, and not enjoyed by everyone. But I think it was the first one that people really enjoyed, and I think partly due to the fact that it's so different. The closest thing that I've seen it described, or compared to, I should say, is that British Sterling aftershave. So if your dad or granddad or yourself used that when you were younger, this has some similarities to it. It's not a dead ringer, and it's not a copy or inspired by, I do not believe. This is, you know, his own scent, but it's a good one. And it performs in spectacular fashion, as all of his soaps do. All right. Good to go for pass 3. And this has been a really nice, comfortable shave, which is what you want. Especially when we're right at 5 o'clock in the morning. You want to just have an enjoyable, wonderful shave. And really enjoying that. One other thing, folks, if you have Windows computers, make sure you update them. Go to Microsoft, you know, go to the check for updates thing. Make sure you update them, because that WannaCry malware has been floating around, and it will encrypt your files and you will be done. Unless you want to pay, which I don't recommend. I don't like rewarding, you know, the bad guys, which is what you do when you pay. So, a couple things. Have a backup of your files, especially things like pictures that are very dear and important to you. Have a backup. And usually it's best to use the rule of 3, which is to have it, you know, on your computer, on a hard drive, and say somewhere in the cloud. And 2, make sure your machine is up to date. Also, when you get email from unknown individuals, don't click the attachments. A lot of times they fake them to where it looks like it's coming from FedEx or Amazon, or it looks legit, but it's not. So if you didn't order anything from Amazon, FedEx, if your taxes are already paid, you know, they fake from the IRS, and they use images and things that look real. Usually if you hover over some of those things, you'll notice it's not the real URL of these websites. So if you receive any of this stuff and there's an attachment and it looks odd to you, don't click it. And generally it's just, unless you're expecting an attachment, don't click on it. Malware is definitely spread that way. That's a very common vector for malware. So just be careful. Folks, if you have a Mac, you're much less susceptible, and you're not susceptible at all to this particular piece of malware, and generally a lot more hardened. So it's a little easier for Mac folks. But Windows folks, be careful. All right, that's the computer tip for the day. Let me rinse the face. We'll come back and get on this post. Stay tuned. And in comes the magic made by witches. Thayers Witch Hazel, which is wonderful, wonderful stuff. And we use it every day for toning, astringent. It's got some moisturizing properties in there, the aloe, because I like to use the type with aloe. Those questions come up a lot. And I use this, sometimes there's some overlap between witch hazel and aftershave, because some aftershaves have witch hazel, some aftershaves can also work as an astringent with the alcohol, protecting you from cuts. But witch hazel does that, and also it will heal or help soothe irritation and things of that nature. So it's why I use it. I like it for the, you know, moisturization and the healing properties. Very, very good in that regard. Let's review the gear before we get to our aftershave. Charcoal razors, I absolutely love it still. No buyer's remorse. And yes, I paid for it. It was not a gimme nor or any of the razors in my collection. I don't actually have a collection. I have razors that I use, so I don't like to call it a collection. But anyway, outstanding razor. Mine is level 2. I really like it. It is, for me, definitely in the premium class. Outstanding. Wolf Whiskers, Black Wolf Melania was fantastic. And Catie's Bubbles La Piment de la Vie, LPV as we call it. Really, really nice, sort of a walk back down memory lane because I haven't used it for so long. Great stuff. And today we're going to use the shaving shop. It's no longer called Hemingway because there was a, I think Pete from the shaving shop got a cease and desist on using that particular image, but I already had it. So it's for sale now, but not with the Hemingway label on it. It's called something else, but it's still closed, so you'll be able to find it if you go to the shaving shop. And this one is a sort of a spicy type warm scent as well, so it matches up pretty well with our LPV, which again, you don't have to match your aftershave to your soap. It's not necessary, but I tend to do it on most days. All right, folks, and just like that, we are finished. It's time to shave the dome and prepare to get in for work today, or get into work today. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Until next time, let's help make the entire world shave great once again.